Welcome, everyone. We're so glad that you're here with us tonight and can join us to meet and greet our teaching team that's part of our pre-K, kindergarten, and first grade classrooms. Also with us tonight is our lower school curriculum coordinator and our lower school learning specialist. I'm going to hand the mic over to these guys and let them introduce themselves. And then we will get into some information about our program and also answer some of the questions that we received as part of that Eventbrite sign up. So with that, I will ask Ocean to please introduce herself, and then we'll kind of go around the group.
All right. My name is Ocean Selmeyer. I am the pre-K lead teacher, and I am the director of the pre-K program at Mackintosh. I have received my director's certificate from Arapahoe Community College and my master's in early childhood special education from the University of Colorado, Denver. I'm also an early childhood education coach for other educators, and I teach education classes for adults entering the early childhood field, both at UCD and Arapahoe Community College. I've been in education since 2014 and just really found that ECE is my preferred universe to live in. Something fun. I love spending the day with young children. They are my best friends. I enjoy hearing everything they have to say, exploring the world with them. Really, teaching is my hobby. It is my art. It is what I think about and plan and enjoy spending my spare time thinking about what I can bring to the classroom. And I have too many pets.
Hi, I'm Stacy Anderson. I'm the lower school learning specialist, and I have taught grades pre-KK 1, 2, 3, 4, and some 5th grade math. I've been in education a very long time, since I knew I wanted to be a teacher at the age of 21. You're gonna be able to figure out how old I am. I started teaching in 1987 in Cherry Creek. And then so I've taught in Cherry Creek for years, but I've been at Mackintosh since 2002 with a short break. I retired once and came back. Let's see, there was something. Oh, I have an undergrad dual license. I have an undergrad degree. I have undergrad degrees in elementary education and special education, and a master's in special education. And I love, my favorite hobby is to play tennis. But my favorite thing about teaching and children is relationships, and how I just think it's amazing. You know, we love our adult relationships and we love our relationships with our own children if we have them. But there's just something about the relationship with a student that is really special. And I think that's when you feel like you're really making a difference for children, is when they have a relationship with the teacher, and because you get to know them in a different environment than their parents, and you know them differently than peers. So I think that's my favorite part of education.
Who's next? Me? Well, I'm Greg Ashworth. I'm the kindergarten teacher. Gosh, my education, I got my teaching credentials through University of Colorado, Denver. It was a master's program. And I've been at Mac for 18 years, I believe. And my hobbies, I guess, are bike riding and photography. And I do a lot of photography around the school when I get a chance anyway. And is that it? I think that's it.
I'm Delaney. I'm the first grade teacher. And I have a dual degree from CU Boulder in sociology and geography, which is kind of fun. And then I also have a lot of studio classes, kind of looking towards an MFA in studio arts. I'm also a Colorado certified teacher, and I have been for about 10 years. And most of that experience is in first grade. And I added my art teaching endorsement in 2020. And I just think it pairs so beautifully with first grade because there's so many pieces of art that we make. And so incorporating and integrating art and inquiry has been one of my favorite things about Mackintosh. And my favorite thing about teaching first graders is being with them in that learning struggle. Because I tell them all the time, like, learning is not always fun. And being with them there and, you know, prompting them and figuring out just that right level of support that they need so that when they are finished with something, they've really done it. That's always a really impressive thing to me. And I show off to this team all the time. I'm like, look at this amazing thing this kid wrote, or look at this amazing, like, crazy math equation this kid figured out on their own. And it's all of that figuring out and being with them in that moment of learning and struggling. So it's my favorite.
And hi, I'm Lara Posback, and it's so fun to see all these faces.
Yeah.
Young ones. Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. I am the lower school curriculum coordinator, and I also have this wonderful opportunity to teach part-time in second grade. So I have both feet in both places. And I have the privilege of meeting with teachers on a regular basis in the lower school to support them with curriculum. I've been at Mackintosh now for 16 years, oh my, and I've been in education for 18. I have a Colorado reading teacher license, so teaching reading and literacy are my passions. And I love that at Mackintosh Academy that children feel safe to be who they are, and that their peers at our school are so accepting of each other. And that's a pretty special thing. I feel like that I have not found in other communities or schools that I've worked at in the past.
Well, great. Thanks so much to each of our teachers and administrators for being part of this call. I'm just so excited to show them off tonight a little bit. To set the stage a little bit for how the evening will go, we solicited questions as part of the sign up through Eventbrite. And so we've taken those questions. We've also sat together as a team and really talked about what are those things that come up often in admissions with questions about these younger kids and how we know if they're gifted, how we know if Mackintosh is the right place for them, lots of different this is such an important decision for parents of knowing where these foundational years in their educational journey are going to be spent. And it's something that, we take very seriously. And so, of course, there's a lot of questions that happen during that time of discernment. And so we tried to capture all those and really kind of chunked those up for each of our members of our teaching team to speak about tonight. And so you'll hear from each of them on those topics that we hear frequently here in the admissions office, one specifically from you that we've heard as part of the registration. And then if there are questions that happen throughout the evening that pop up, throw them down in the chat. And if there's time at the end of the meeting, we'll put it out to the group. I do want to be real respectful of your time. So I do want to be sure we wrap up by 7:30 so you can get to bedtimes and those fun routines so that our kids get to bed in time. And also our teachers, since they have to teach these lovely kiddos tomorrow morning. But again, if something comes up during the conversation that we don't get to, something happens pops into your mind once that we're off of the Zoom call, please know you are more than welcome to reach out to me, and I will pass those questions along to the teachers, or happy to try and get those answered myself. So with that, I'll hand it over to Stacey Anderson, and she's going to dive into some of those hot topics that parents of kiddos your age want to know about giftedness, the early signs of that, that word that you might start hearing about, twice exceptionalities, some of those different pieces. So with that, I turn it over to Stacey Anderson.
Thanks, Annie. You can tell, so I have my little questions because I'm just all the technology and figuring out. So if I look down, looking at the questions and making sure I'm hitting those topics. But I have been, it's interesting, I shared in education a very long time, and I've been in gifted education, but I'm also a special educator. And at Mackintosh, we look at children through that. First of all, let me say our lens is strengths-based. So we look at children from a strengths-based perspective. You can hear educators talk about strengths, deficits, strengths, needs. We look at children from a strengths-based perspective. And I, in my role, look at children through exceptionalities. And so Mackintosh is a school for gifted children. And what that means is giftedness is actually a brain-based difference, right? It's how children view the world. And that's intellectual kind of differences, social emotional differences, academic differences, and then that parlays out into all the different areas of learning, the arts, math, science, reading, comprehension, critical thinking, all of those pieces. So that's how we look at kids, through these exceptionalities. And when they're little, when you have young children, you're kind of probably I remember, my children are old now, but I can remember way back, and you look at them and you're thinking, that's an interesting question, or that's an interesting response to something in the environment or something that they see. And so this sounds very colloquial, but we kind of look for a spark. Is there a spark, this interesting little piece to the child that makes the adults around them or the peers go, I'm not sure about that, or tell me more. So that's kind of how we look at those exceptionalities, and the official way, right, to determine giftedness, although there are many different facets of giftedness, is to look at IQ testing. And so one of my questions is about, well, I'm just going to kind of hit them all in my little piece here, but IQ testing is generally not done until the age of 6. It's most accurate, and it's the best time to do that is between 6 and 9. You may have had your children tested earlier than that, and that can be done. It's just not as keen. Once children get to that age of 6, all the way till 9, it's a very keen representation of their thinking. And then that IQ test looks at verbal comprehension, fluid reasoning, processing speed, working memory, visual spatial. So we look at all those little subcategories and we see, where are those sparks that I talked about? And that's kind of looking at your child and how they look at the world and in their giftedness. Then there's something called twice exceptionality, and I'm not sure, maybe you're familiar with that, maybe you're not. My background, I think you heard me say, probably my master's is in special education, which is not that gifted end of the curriculum per se. However, exceptional is exceptional, right? That means that we're not running along the road of typicality. We are exceptional, and whatever that may look like. And I think that's why I'm so strengths-based, and why and that's why I love Mackintosh, because that's who we are, is strengths-based. So twice exceptionality is when there's a gifted intellectual quotient, right? There's an intellectual gifted piece, or arts, or whatever it is, in those little subcategories. But then perhaps there's a learning disability, or there's attention deficit, hyperactivity disorder, or on the spectrum. Those children, once that's identified, we call them those are our 2E kids. It's not a deficit model. It's a strengths-based model. So we're really looking at the individual child and what what they're bringing to the table, how we can support them. And it's just a different way of learning. I don't know if you've heard or not, but in all the language in education now, it's not so much disability as it is difference. So we look at the world differently, and gifted people do that anyway. People who are gifted look at the world differently. And so that's just part of the whole makeup. Let me see. I think the last one. Our parent partnerships are very strong. We communicate as best and as frequently as we can. I will just say this is just something that happened to me yesterday. I was in a meeting with a parent, and it kind of felt like the parent was feeling badly for asking for a meeting. They're a new family in Mackintosh, and so they've had some questions along the way. And how I started the meeting was, I'm so glad that you asked for this check-in, because, and we never want parents to feel like, oh, they're taking too much time or it's too much effort, because your focus is your one child or your multiple, but maybe at the most 4 or 5, however many you have. But at Mac, there may be 16 in a class, anywhere from 8 to 16, say. And so as we're really paying attention, but we really appreciate that you're paying attention too. So when you reach out to us, we're happy about that. We're pleased. We want to talk about your child. So anyway, that on this parent partnership question I want parents to hear that, that we are paying attention, but we want your feedback. We want your questions. We want to know what you're thinking about, because we're on a team, and I believe we're kind of raising the children together, right? And then if an exceptionality comes into play, a double, like a 2E, some type of learning difference, we work very hard to understand that difference for your child, because your child with dyslexia may look different than another child with dyslexia or ADHD or spectrum. Obviously, it's a spectrum. So we research, we pay attention, we talk to teachers, we talk to parents, and then we speak about it in a strengths-based way. We don't do we do short-term interventions. So we may pull a child for a short time if they need some specific work in an area or some specific support. But we don't really do a lot of pull out, because the classrooms are too rich. It's too rich to pull kids out and not have them with their peers and their teacher. We can do it for small bits, and we can go in the classroom. I'm in 3-4 all the time right now, in literacy, working on poetry and book groups. So we support that way as well. So it is truly, my point is, it's truly a partnership. That just to wrap me up, it's a partnership. It's strengths-based, exceptional is exceptional, and no testing really until 6 is what we kind of our blanket. Unless there's something we're seeing and it needs to happen earlier, then we would let you know that.
Does anyone on the panel have anything to add to what Stacy spoke to?
I guess I would like to say that Stacy has been a mentor to all of our teachers, and that she is a huge resource for us, especially in the lower school, for when we have those questions about those exceptionalities or possible developing something or other. And just having her as a resource, as somebody who would come in and observe or provide interventions or suggestions for the teacher. So she's a tremendous resource for us.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would just say those parent partnerships really have felt unique. Like Lara was kind of saying, I have worked at a few other schools, and this parent community and family community, it really feels different than most other schools. It's something special.
I would just like to give a shout out to Arwen, because I can see that he's looking and he's waving at me. So I want to say, hi, Arwen. I see you.
Hi, Arwen.
Oh, that's totally
Hey,
Ocean.
Arwen. Where's the thumbs up, Arwen?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, this actually is a question from Arwen's mom that she wanted to know a little bit more about our IB curriculum, how it's why it works so well, not only for the gifted community, but specifically for these younger kids. And so with that, Lara, if you'd like to share a little bit about that, that'd be wonderful.
Yes, one of my favorite topics to discuss. So I could go on all evening, but I'm going to try to keep it brief. So if you have further questions after this, I'd be happy to individually talk with people. So IB, International Baccalaureate, is made up of 6, they call them transdisciplinary themes, which means we have 6 units throughout our school year. We call them units of inquiry. And those 6 units have specific themes. And so I'm just going to tell you the themes real quickly. Who we are, which is really about identities and relationships. Where we are in time and place is an orientation in space and time. How we express ourselves, where we explore personal and cultural expressions. How the world works, which is really around science, technology, and innovation. How we organize ourselves is about globalization and sustainability. And then finally, the sharing the planet is about fairness and development. IB is really just, it's a framework. It's not a curriculum. It provides these big ideas, which is what's so beautiful for the gifted mind. It's thematic. And it's transdisciplinary, which means it cuts across all subject areas. So there's not a wart of, oh, now it's science class, and now it's math class, and now it's literacy class. It's all integrated into those themes, which work so beautifully in that gifted mind. And it's also really based in inquiry, so that students are driving in a sense, they're driving the curriculum, and the teachers are guiding them through the curriculum. We do follow some standards. We follow the next generation science standards. So we have a hefty science-rich curriculum. That's the next generation is beautiful. Their standards are beautiful. We follow Common Core math, and then the Colorado State standards for reading and writing. And I thought I would just quickly go through one of the units so you could get a taste of what they're like. And I chose the World Works Kindergarten unit, which has a focus on weather. And the big idea that we're trying to get children to get to is observations can be used to describe phenomena and to make predictions. So it's a pretty big and open-ended thinking piece. However, we're helping children get there through the lens of weather. And within that unit, children are exposed to these big concepts. And so each unit typically has 2 to 3 concepts. So within this particular unit of inquiry, one of our big concepts is form, and form, through the concept of form, children learn about what is weather, what is it like, how does it work? And then the second big concept that they really focus on is causation. And that's where we get into this piece around data and predictions. So what causes weather to happen? And can we predict weather phenomena? And then within these units of inquiry, there's also a learner profile, or a couple of learner profiles, which are sort of at the heart of what IB is. And there are these big ideas around what makes us all global learners. It sort of connects us all together. It's sort of an affective way of teaching children. And so within this unit, the learner profiles that children use are their inquirers. So they ask lots of questions if they are using their inquirer learner profile. And then being knowledgeable, which is another learner profile, is where they're using their background knowledge to make connections so that they can also then start making those big predictions. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the transdisciplinary aspects of this particular unit of inquiry. There's a science, technology, engineering, and math piece where students are creating weather tools themselves that they then use to help them measure weather. So lots of hands-on experiences there, lots of opportunities to be outside looking and predicting and using their tools to help them understand what's happening. In social studies, they're looking at different cultures from around the world and their environments, and how do those people in those places interact with weather, either through their what kind of housing they live in, the clothing they wear. And then there's a literacy component, of course. And for this particular unit of inquiry, it's a nonfiction focus. And so children are learning about through making their observations, they're writing their observations, they're listing facts and information that they're learning about through their through books that are read aloud to them or books that they themselves are reading. And then the writing component is around those taking notes on those observations, and then doing research on different weather phenomena and writing facts about those pieces. So it all kind of beautifully all ties together, and all of those pieces are then also connected to our standards that kind of guide us along the way. So that's it in a nutshell.
Lara, I can tell you today, in fact, as our storm clouds were moving in the afternoon, we went out for an extra little recess, and I hear Mr. Ashworth, and she identifies the type of clouds, and then another student's like, well, because there were different types of clouds, and identified those, and then on the playground, predictions were happening all over. So you could see the unit in use, even though the prediction part was not about weather. It was, they were using those tools predicting other things happening, as well as identifying stuff that we learned in the weather unit.
Yes, beautiful. Love to hear that.
I would just pop on because I want to say, when I was teaching all the, teaching in the classroom, I cracked myself up all the time because every unit I taught was my favorite. And that, I would dive in and I would research like the kids, and I would learn, and I would just be like, this is the best. And then I would just surprise myself all over again when I would go to the next. It was just I just think the International Baccalaureate, I mean, that's just the way, that's the way we learn. That's the way we learn best.
Great. Thanks, Lara, very much. So oftentimes what I hear in the admissions office is that they are looking for that the people that they are looking for that connection, that either their kiddos are struggling with peer groups at their current school, that it seems like their child might be on a different wavelength as far as humor or interest areas. And when people come to Mac, it seems like they find their people. And so Greg is going to speak to a little bit about why that connectedness is so important, not only in our classrooms, but also within our community here at Mackintosh. And with Greg's multiple vantage points from his roles here at Mackintosh, he also knows the importance of community and connectedness as a hallmark of who we are here at Mackintosh. So with that, Mr. Ashworth, the floor is yours.
All right. I guess that unique part is my first 6 years at Mac was teaching middle school. And since then, I've been in every classroom. So I do have this kind of sweeping view of all the different classes. And in fact, fairly recently, there was a time when I think I had someone in every class that had been in my class. Like, I don't know if I'm articulating that very well, but from middle school to pre-K, I had, and at that time I was in pre-K, so I had all the classes I had at one time. So, well, first, our connections, I'll start with the staff in that I truly enjoy working with everyone that I work with, and we're all like mind and like-heartedness, heart. So Lara's husband. We ride bikes together. We have a loop that we do together, and it's we see each other in other ways because we enjoy each other. And then as far as at school, we have some things that are organized in that each class has a buddy class. Kindergarten is 8th grade, pre-K is 7th grade, and so forth as we go through the different groups. And those groups get together and do different activities. They'll come in. I have them come in kindergarten to help with maybe an experiment that we're doing or a writing assignment or something like that, and then throw in something fun. Maybe go out and have a little recess together, and what I hear from their older buddies, they are requesting this interaction as much as my kindergarten class. So it's mutual. They love getting together, and each class does that. And we also find we also find other ways to get together. Ocean had a thing happening upstairs recently, and we were able to go upstairs as our class, and we invited other classes to come in and see. And then we also had a science thing going in our classroom, and PreK came down and listened to presentations, and we had other classes coming in. And so it's pretty regular in that we interact with each other, and it's one of our goals as a community is to get other classes together, share our knowledge, share our experiences. And a lot of that is by design, but I think where it really pays off is when you see it spontaneously. And speaking of one time being on the playground, on the larger playground, and I see a group of middle school students, and they're holding hands, and they create this chain, and they start moving like a snake around the field. And some middle school started it, then some 5, 6 students jumped in, right? And then 3, 4, and then second, first, right? They had all the classes and all the kids. No one was pushed away. Everyone just joined in, and before you knew it, this chain was, I don't know how many students long, and it was weaving in and out of the playground. That's something that doesn't happen unless the community fosters that, and that was just a spontaneous moment.
That reminded me, Greg, just this week, I had one of my little first graders come up to me, and she said, "Oh, I'm just having this problem. I just need to talk to my big sister." And I was like, "You're an only child. Who's your big sister?" And she named a 5th grader who she plays with on the playground during lunch. And sure enough, there they are on the swings together, talking over whatever this problem was that she had. They're so close to each other because we have those connections.
Yeah.
Great. Next up, I'm going to have Ocean talk a little bit about these important foundational years of getting started at Mackintosh, and how the way that we teach really set these children up for success on their learning journeys, that we really pay special attention to the classroom environment, the learning opportunities for the children to really fall in love with learning and stay in love with learning as gifted students. And so with that, Ocean, with her wonderful background and extensive knowledge, I'm excited to hear you speak, because you speak to these things so beautifully. So anyway, with that, Ocean.
Okay, well, first, our PreK program is a little bit we're a separate childcare license than the rest of the school. So that, and we're a level 4 with Colorado Shines, which is a really high indicator of quality. And it's something we're really proud to have, that level 4. And we've also been chosen as a best practice site for Arapahoe Community College for future educators to come and see that classroom at work, because it is an example of best practice, and that's what they want up and coming early childhood educators to see. So in pre-K, we also do the same transdisciplinary themes, but we explore them really with the children driving how we go through those themes. We are really inquiry based, because young children, for them to be engaged and enjoy that curiosity and devour this knowledge and this experience that's coming at them, you really want to have the freedom to follow it. They are constructing their learning, and that is the way humans learn. And what's beautiful with IB is, as Lara had mentioned, our themes and our concepts are really large and broad. So I'm able to see where their interests are moving and provide them experiences and opportunities to explore that in these beautifully authentic ways, while still meeting IB standards, while still meeting the standards that we want them to, of course, we want them to understand what an A is, and we want them to be able to hold a pencil and all of those things, but I want them to be able to do it in a way that is so important to them, so that they engage and they keep moving forward and building all those foundational skills. But before we get to A's and pencils and all those things, they have to learn how to be at school, and they have to learn how to be in a community. And that's where approaches to learning, which is another IB phrase that you'll hear, our ATLs, sometimes we call them. And really, and those are thinking, social skills, communication skills, self-management, and research. And like everything else at Mackintosh, we meet children where they are, and we grow them as they mature and develop. So in pre-K, those skills look like, I am a capable person. I can put on my shoes. I can assist someone else who maybe needs support. I can empathize. I can wait my turn and use sharing strategies. I can use my hands and my fine motor skills and my large motor skills to accomplish things on my own. I can ask questions. I can present ideas. I can understand the connection between what I'm drawing and what I'm trying to communicate with someone. I can collaborate with others. All of these things are ATLs that, as children get older, maybe they look like reports or essays or something like that. But in pre-K, it's, I have an idea, let's try this. Okay, we can do it. So we have that freedom in the classroom to grow those skills and really build their confidence and build their esteem and build their abilities, so that they're ready for those next big steps, because their foundation is so solid. Another way we do that is we have incorporated Reggio Emilia as a philosophy, a methodology of teaching in the classroom. And that's where, again, in the Reggio philosophy, we follow the children's interest. We see them as capable and respect them as learners and as other human beings, because they are short, but they are mighty, and they can educate us just as well as we're educating them a lot of the time. And also in Reggio, the teacher is not the only person in the room that has all the knowledge. I see myself as a guide or a mentor in their learning process. If they have an idea, it's my job to facilitate and provide experiences around that idea, or to give them the freedom, but also the safety to try that idea. It's not for me to just tell them all day long what we're going to be doing. And it's my ideas and it's my kingdom that I rule. It's a shared space. And that space is also one of the teachers. The environment is the third teacher. So in that, it's not only that we have a beautiful environment, which we do, but also that there are routines that children can depend upon, and especially in this GT and 2E population, having the security of a schedule and a routine is very important, so they can be free to explore. Having their artwork on display, but making sure that the room is also calming and neutral is very important. Having access to the materials when they want to use them, and they can explore and they can direct their own learning is part of the Reggio experience. How their learning is documented. I don't sit them down and put them through tests, but I observe and I take videos and I take pictures to document their learning journey through the year. And I share that with parents so they can see and experience everything they've been doing, because it's amazing what they do every day. So that's how we balance that inquiry and the transdisciplinary is, and the IB is seeing where they want to go, making sure they're able to get there, applying standards, and then supporting their social emotional growth as they learn to be in a world where others exist alongside of them. Some of the big differences between pre-K and K, and Greg, jump in because I've only been in pre-K. Pre-K again is like very play-based. It's very hands-on. It's very experiential. And as children move on to those more academic years, so as they move into kindergarten, then up to Delaney in first grade and Lara in second grade, that play base starts to wean, and we get more academic and more focused at table learning and writing and reading, and kind of that more traditional school idea that you might have in your head. It's not we're learning math or building with blocks, and it's not that we're researching by going out and looking for squirrels, such as what we did today. So that's some of the difference between pre-K and K.
Well, and I will say, like, I'm always surprised, like where we are in the year right now, looking at the work we're doing. It's always just like Stacy's always surprised each unit. I'm always surprised each year. It's like, oh wow, look where we are and where we came from, right? And we still do. We need to in kindergarten, right? We need place value in math, right? So I use blocks, right? The 10 blocks. And I don't tell them, well, I do tell them there's ones and tens, and I tell them that, but they're just having fun manipulating the blocks and trading for 10 ones for a 10 stick, and they're having fun, right? So it's still a lot of that in kinder, and it's but as the year goes on, and now it's the kids are as Ocean said, maybe looks more of a traditional kind of academic thing, but at the same time, it's also what they're hungry for. Mm-hmm. So they're being fed the way they need to be fed along the way.
Yeah. Well, and also, there's differentiation also takes place, because the thing with, I think with most children, but also in the GT population as well, is this idea of asynchrony. So someone may be very advanced in math, and I'm differentiating for that so that every child is getting the experience that they need to have them be challenged and have them grow. But that same child that's very high in math may struggle with sharing, or may struggle with letters, or may struggle with transitions. So just because a child is very gifted in one area doesn't mean they don't struggle somewhere else. So that's where that differentiation comes in. Where do you need support? Where do you need challenge? And that's one benefit of Mackintosh, is our classes are very small. and we're able to provide that. And we have lots of resources if we're trying to figure out how best to challenge or how best to support, which is really valuable. It's not something that you find in every school. So I always appreciate that in all of you, because I go to all of you for that. One thing I have noticed in the last few years, and I'm wondering if it will be another 3 years to see it cycle, is children that have had these early years or been born during COVID have some unique challenges that I see in the classroom, especially social emotional. So we spend a lot of time at the beginning of the year and throughout the year supporting children as they try to overcome things like frustration tolerance or empathy of others, especially if they are an only child or one that hasn't had a lot of social experience outside of their home, teaching them how to be patient, how to use a sharing strategy, how to recognize social cues from others. So a lot of that kind of stuff I've seen just in the last few years with COVID being, it's always a challenge in early childhood. They are very egocentric beings, but it seems like with the pandemic, that's just upticked a little bit more. So we're really paying attention to those needs and addressing them and really teaching those very intentionally, repeatedly, so that children are mastering those skills before they move on to kindergarten and first grade. And we're also here to support parents, because parenting in isolation is also not easy. And I couldn't have imagined having a toddler by myself in my house for 2 years and what that would have felt like if I didn't have other moms to reach out to and spend time with and learn from. So again, that's why this community that's so small and enriching is beneficial for parents, because we want to support you just like your kids. So anyway, that's mine.
I would add that pretty much across the early childhood spectrum with COVID, speaking of COVID, that our curriculum is super naturally, or IB is very naturally set up for helping children with those social pieces through our learner profiles and through as Ocean was talking about, those approaches to learning where there's a real focus on social skills, explicit teaching of social skills. And we have community meetings in our classes in the morning and one in the afternoon. And then also sometimes it's, they pop up throughout the day when we notice needs to have all of us come together as a community and talk about those pieces. So that's in all of our grade levels is a real important focus.
And Larry, you've just set up Delaney's topics so well. You might have heard me say in the admissions process that here at Mackintosh, we are small by design. We want to be sure that your children are seen and that they are known. And so because of that, we've built in to our faculty and staff structure supports along the way that we make sure that we've got folks on staff to help with those social emotional learning pieces to help when kiddos get stuck, because something with a gifted learner profile is a high level of sensitivity, a high level of justice. And so oftentimes parents have seen that at home and they want to know how we handle those types of situations at school, and also provide an environment where a kiddo feels safe with those big emotions, and that we in turn help children find strategies. So with that, Delaney, I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about those support systems and the ways that we, again, partner not only with the parents, but then with our school specialists to really support our kiddos for the best learning environment that they can have.
I think having that smaller class really just matters because you can know your students so much better. And you know the things that they're strong with, like Stacy was talking about. You've got the strengths at the front of your mind all the time, and you also know what's going to be hard for them. And sometimes you see that kid who walks in with a storm cloud over their head, and you're like, oh, okay, I need to immediately send a message to Stacy. Let's get her in here. And she comes in with a huge smile, and she's like, I'm going to whisk this little storm cloud away, and takes them somewhere, regulates with them, talks with them, spends good quality time. They come back with a huge smile on their face, ready to learn. And it's not just her, you know, it's really anybody. We've got a wonderful school psych who's at our, like, just at our school. Is she there 4 days a week still? 3 days? She was there for 4 days for a little while this year,
Yes.
so I
Yes,
got
she
confused.
Yes.
But yeah, she's there for 3 days a week, and she helps with specific students, but she also teaches a curriculum to all of the students based around those social emotional skills. And you know, she's just available to help with some of those trickier situations that might pop up where we've been documenting for a little while. We're starting to notice a very subtle pattern, but it's starting to emerge. The wonderful thing about having that small class is that you catch it quicker, and we've got the resources to do those short interventions that Stacy was mentioning before it turns into a big problem. And of course, because we have those great relationships with parents, parents know right away when something has been happening. We've got the high touch communication about, you know, if an incident occurred at school, you know right away, you know, hopefully you're not hearing it from your kid at the dinner table or bedtime. You've already heard it from the teacher, heard it from somebody on staff, and know that we're handling it and taking it seriously and addressing it. And, you know, obviously, if there's a safety issue, things, you know, depending on the severity of the issue, and, you know, that will be addressed differently than this kid keeps touching me when I'm in line, and I don't like that he touches my hair every day, you know, or something like that. And so it really depends on what's happening. The reaction is really responsive to like the situation and that student. And is it today they're having a bad day, or is this kind of been happening all week? Maybe it's time for us to get the team together and kind of problem solve some of that. And then just making sure that we have those routines, like Ocean was saying, they can just really settle down and settle in. They don't have to wonder who they sit next to anymore, you know, at lunch or something like that, or where to go or what to do. They spend all of their energy being curious and creative and celebrating and asking questions instead of kind of scanning and wondering, am I okay here? So that's one way that we can really build the community and the environment to support that. Is there, I thought I saw something specific come in. I don't know if that's related to me or something else, or if anybody has something else to add.
I was going to add just, Delaney, how it's interesting for parents. I think they hear curiosity and free and asking questions and wonderings, and then yet structure. And that really is the key to success in a classroom. Is truly the structure is set. So just when Delaney was saying it, even it's so funny, and hopefully this is, I mean, I don't know how relevant this is, but even when, like I was saying in the beginning, I love tennis. And when like I'm in a drill and the tennis pro says, choose your own partner or something like that. Not that choosing your partner is not a bad thing, but then I start, even my own self, I start thinking, who am I going to be with? What is going to happen? What if I'm the last one? What if no one wants to play with me? You know, all those things, instead of paying attention to what's in the moment. And when the structure is in place and they say, you two, you two, you two, or the child does not have to wonder anymore because they know I'm going to line up, they know where they're going, but yet there's still so much freedom. And that's a sophisticated classroom. That's when it's all working well for children. And that's based in research and practice. And Delaney, you do that very well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was talking to my class today about front stage versus backstage stuff. And they were like, you do all of these things to make our classroom run the way it does? I'm like, yeah, on purpose. It's intentionally done and intentionally set up so that, it feels good for you guys, that's the whole point.
Well, great. One thing I was going to quickly mention, and this came in the questions as well, is wondering about class sizes. Our pre-K class, we would be at capacity at 12 students. That grows a little larger when it gets into our kindergarten and first grade classrooms, where that grows to 15. The other question that was part of that was about the combining of classrooms. So as Greg mentioned, we've got some opportunities for connection between our, the big school as a whole, but specifically our kindergarten and pre-K kiddos, they spend time together on the playground. So there's that classroom of 12 with that classroom of 15 that come together for a bigger peer group and social circles. In the same way, our first and second grade are also connected, where they're actually spending some class time together, where they are doing their PE and their arts together. And then when we get to our third grade, we actually start combining our classrooms, where we grow our class size in third grade to 16 students. And so we are admitting 16 third graders and 16 fourth graders, but there's 2 3-4 classrooms. So it's going to be 1 3-4 classroom of 8 third graders and 8 fourth graders, in the same way in the opposite. And so that's the same when we get to our 5-6 classrooms. We grow those classes to 18 per grade level. So again, 2 5-6 classrooms with a combination of kiddos in each of those, and as well as 7th and 8th grade. And so there's a lot of different reasons why we've found that connecting and combining is so good for, helping kids learn to lead, to follow an example, that teachers get to know kiddos better. But going back to that class size and that growing from 12 to 15 in the kindergarten classroom, this is a great segue for me to have Stacy speak a little bit about our teaching team for the kindergarten classroom for next year. Because we have made a shift where we've got 2 co-lead teachers that will be teaching in kindergarten for next year. We finished up our classroom for that. But anyway, Stacy, if you'd like to share a little bit about our new co-lead teacher for next school year, and also the reason why Mackintosh opted to go to this new model of 2 co-leads for kindergarten specifically, that would be great.
Well, I'll keep it really brief. First, I'll say we just sent the, and I see Paula on here, so I'm sure she got the email, and then I'm not sure, some more people probably did too. But that we have hired, her name is Pilar, which, can we just say Pilar lots and lots of times? Because I'm going to be, and then I'm saying she's from Chile, using all my accent, which I have none. But anyway, we are thrilled to have her. And when I started at Mackintosh in 2002, remember that? Long time ago, we had these small class sizes, and we had a lead and we had a co in every class, actually. And I had come from Cherry Creek, where I had 28 by myself. And I was like, this is the dream. You will hear teachers always collaboration, somebody just to lean on, to take the lead. You do the following. It's kind of like kids, what Annie was talking about. Sometimes you're the lead and another person is the follower, and then you switch. Where are your strengths? And to be able to have 2 kindergarten leads, to have 2 teachers together because of that bump. I mean, you look at even pre-K now. I mean, we don't technically call it 2 leads, but Ocean with Uda, they are just in sync. And we're super excited. I would love to give you all Pilar's background, because it's quite extensive. She's she's younger. She's younger than me, but she has a wealth of, she has been studying. She's got IB background. And she's bilingual, obviously. And she will be our Spanish lead for pre-KK, where we have Senora Cardona. Here comes my accent. Senora Cardona for our upper school, for lower, 2nd, No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Anyway, Pilar will be our Spanish lead, and then we'll be teaching with Greg. And it's just to have that other adult talk about seeing and knowing kids. That's what will be happening. Was that enough?
That's
Like-
perfect. And look at you, right on time, Stacey Anderson at 7:30. So wanting to honor that again, your time tonight. Just thank you for tuning in. There's one question that came in that I'll connect with you tomorrow on that phone call, because I know we've got a phone call scheduled tomorrow about that specifically. But with that, I just, again, thank you to our panelists. I think you probably can see why I think the world of this team, and really appreciate all of the efforts that they do to really get our kiddos off on the right start for this journey, on their education journey. And that parent partnership that we spoke about is so strong. And that was exemplified tonight by all of your participation in being here and having such a commitment to your children's education. So I thank you for your interest and belief in Mackintosh. And again, if there's any further questions, send those in an email and we'll get those answered. But look forward to continuing the conversations. To those of you in the admissions process, and those of you that will be new to our school next year, we look forward to welcoming you. And those that are part of our community and just moving into upper classrooms, thanks for being with us tonight as well. So with that, take care.